Glenn, while we have you here, a new report from CSIS has some damning allegations surrounding criminal activity by people working on behalf of India. And we should mention this comes just days after Canada and India agreed to restore diplomatic services here. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, pretty damning report by CSIS about the activities by the Indian government or agents thereof in Canada, really targeted mostly at the Sikh community. India has been really concerned about what it considers to be Khalistani separatist activity in Canada, going back all the way back to the 1985 Air India bombing. There are groups active now, some relations with criminal gangs as well, especially in British Columbia. And of course, that was where in 2023, a Sikh activist named Hardeep Singh Nijjar was murdered outside of Gurdwara in Surrey, British Columbia. The Prime Minister at the time, Justin Trudeau, immediately stood up in the House of Commons and blamed the Indian government for being involved in this. The RCMP backed up that claim, and the RCMP is now continuing to investigate. But things have been warming. Relations between India and Canada have been warming a bit. I mean, immediately after that, that really caused a diplomatic rift between the two countries. Canada expelled Indian diplomats, including the High Commissioner from India to Canada, and India retaliated, sending our High Commissioner home from New Delhi. But yes, over the weekend, things have warmed a little bit. Prime Minister Carney, as host of the G7 in Kananaskis, decided to invite Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They had what seems to be a cordial chat about this. We can imagine this was something that was raised. There have been, according to the RCMP, improved relations with police in India as they continue to investigate the murder of Mr. Nijjar. We'll see ultimately whether or not they decide to lay charges. But at that meeting between Modi and Carney, both countries agreeing to kind of sort of normalize diplomatic relations, both agreeing to appoint new high commissioners to each other's country. That's a good sign. It's also going to help Canadians. Of course, a lot of Canadians of Indian heritage who go back to India all the time and depend on consular services there, and vice versa. So this is a good sign in sort of a warming of the relationship. But according to CSIS, this is still an ongoing problem. One notable thing that came out of the G7 was a joint resolution by the 7 member countries, not including India, to take action to prevent what it calls transnational regression. That is threats, intimidation, violence by foreign states of quite often diaspora groups. So we're talking about, the Sikh community here, people who come from India, who are Sikh, who are living in Canada, are quite vulnerable to that. And the written statement, very forceful denunciation from the group of 7 countries. We'll see how this investigation goes and whether or not the relationship, crucially the trade relationship also between Canada and India, can normalize and the two countries can get through this. But CSIS is saying this is still a real threat going on in Canada. 2 communities targeted the most, Surrey, British Columbia, and of course Brampton in the GTA. Those are the areas with large South Asian communities that are most at risk. CSIS says this is an active file. They're going to keep watching for the coming months.